Joining us now here on In the Circle at D1 Softball, powered by 643. She made some history a year ago. She was the first 49er to win a Conference Player of the Year award in the American. Of course, the American Conference Player of the Year, 21 home runs, top 10 in home runs and total bases, had one of the greatest seasons that any Charlotte 49er ever have. And of course, she's back for another year. Speak of Jenna Lord joining us here on In the Circle at D1 Softball. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Now you've had time to reflect. When you think of last year, what comes to your mind?
I think for off the top of my head, can't really find a better word for it other than just fun. I mean, softball for the longest time, I think in college for a lot of people revolves around it being a job and it being something that you do and you kind of get lost in it. But I think it with it just being a sport and a game and something that you do and having coaches that kind of point that out to you and live it every day of it not being who you are, but what you do made it just enjoyable to play free, go do, just go be you. And I finally felt that for first time in a long time, really in my career of just like softball being an escape again, not something to stress about. So that's why I think you saw a lot of our girls like be successful, including me. It has to do with just, the people that were around and the coaches and, just everyone else.
Do you remember a turning point where you felt that way? Like as far as on the field, you felt like, okay,
Yeah.
this feels good again.
Yeah, it was right after it was the fall that I got here. So last fall, I had back surgery in May of the previous year or of that year, so about 3, 4 months. Post that, we started obviously practicing. I was still very, very limited, pretty much couldn't do anything. But it was my first few games back where I wasn't having a lot of pain. I wasn't just worried about it. It was kind of just like, we're just gonna go have fun and see what happens. If I suck my first few games being back, that's fine. That's what the fall's for. And if not, then great. Let's keep riding that wave. And so I think it was my first like game or two back, I wasn't doing well, hadn't seen live at bats in a long time, but then I finally got in like a pressure situation of like bases loaded in a fall ball game and I wasn't really known for hitting home runs or like having the long ball be my thing. And so I hit a grand slam and it was like I'm coming around the bases, I hit home run. Everyone's like in tears. I'm in tears. My athletic trainer who had been with me for a while was in tears. And so that was just kind of like their turning point for all of us. It was basically just the most fun experience after that.
Well, it turns out it wouldn't be the last time you hit a home run or two moving forward. So that was a good.
Mhm.
That's a good omen that day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this last year's team. You had it obviously. Everything was new. Everything was new for you.
Mhm.
It was new coaching staff. Nobody knew
Right.
what to expect. But yet, you all came out, finished third in the conference, 30 wins. You said, as a team, you set up as one of the great offenses in program history in a lot of offensive categories. How did you all just click and bond?
I think the coaches are the biggest thing with trust is kind of a two-way street with the coaching staff. So it was like they would give us, things that we needed. They just saw us as people, but they were really hard on us coaching, not in, a bad way, but just held some standards for us. And I think we really responded to that because of how much we trusted them. And it was like, I think if you ask like all the girls on the team, like we genuinely love our coaching staff. We love coming to practice. We love pulling pranks on them pulling pranks on us. Like, and it's just fun to be around. And I think if you ask anyone on our team, like we would genuinely run through a brick wall for our coaches. So that's why you see a lot of product on the field is because there's that two-way street of trust. They trust us, we trust them, and it's like whatever you say, I trust. So I'm just gonna go do it from that point on and trust whatever you say.
Talk about some of your teammates because you weren't the only one putting up numbers offensively. You had it all over the place. Richie, Gerald, who
Yeah.
was the freshman of the year. Just talk about some of the teammates that maybe people that we're not familiar with.
I think it's just so fun to see them in that space kind of thrive. I know, in the past, in travel ball, you're a big name and everything, and then you kind of get to college and you're kind of put down on the totem pole. And when you go through some really tough coaching or like really tough experiences in college, that can kind of linger for a while. And I think it was just so fun for all of them just to see them like all the hard work. Like you're not gonna find people that work harder than Tegan Ritchie and like all those sort of people. Those names that maybe you didn't see before this year, you're not gonna find people that work harder than them. And so to see it really pay off and kind of get out of like getting out of their head, gaining more experience or whatever it was for them, just take off in a year that they had. It was just, I can only imagine for them, like just such a confidence booster, knowing that like that's who they are and people see that now. But also for the team, of course, you got a lot of people producing for you. So it's fun. And as a teammate too, and knowing all of them, their stories, like it's really awesome to see them progress and not only progress, but shine when maybe they hadn't before, or maybe they didn't feel their best before.
And you got a lot of them back. How
Yeah.
confident that makes you that
Mhm.
pretty much the core of last year's offense is basically back. Even the pitching's back. Like you're all a year
Yeah.
older.
Yeah. And that was one thing that we kind of early on in our season when we were playing these huge Power Four teams, World Series caliber teams, is you kind of could see that the experience necessarily wasn't there. I kept going back and being like, if you looked out on our field and if we had Brooke pitching, me and Brooke were the only two seniors on the field. Other than that, we had two juniors and the rest were freshmen and sophomores. So majority of the positions were all underclassmen. And when you haven't necessarily, especially the freshmen, we had a lot of freshmen that started for us last year. So when you're kind of thrown to the wolves like that and you're playing SEC, ACC, Big 12 teams, and every week we're playing a big midweek game against Duke, Clemson, NC State, these big teams, it really for the first bit you kind of like get shell shocked. You're like, oh my goodness. But you learn to play through those moments, play through those games and learn and grow. And just having all that experience in 1 year, I think we had like the third strength of conference or third strength of schedule. Only helps us for this year because not only do you bring all those people back, you also bring all that experience back and more.
You're one of the players that has experience in the postseason as far as you know what it tastes like to be in a regional. And is that something you talk to your teammates about?
Yeah, it's something that not just me, but the core six that were here when Coach Courtney got here, that's something that they've also experienced as well. So that's a lot of girls on almost majority of the team that's had a taste of what postseason is like and also not satisfied with their experience in postseason. My team, my freshman year, we didn't make it out of a regional, and that was shocking and unexpected. And these girls um didn't make it out of a regional either. So it's like we have the tools and the ability to, and now we get to put all that experience together and kind of communicate what that's like because we all want to get to that point, make a regional, make a super, and go from there.
Do you remember where you were when you were told and you found out you won Conference Player of the Year?
I was at practice. I was actually, I had an exam, or no, I had a presentation I had to go give that day because it was finals week. And so I was getting ready. We had like an early individual that morning, and I was getting ready to leave. The rest of the girls were practicing. My athletic trainer had to drive me up to my class. And so I was the only one not dressed out. And so it looked funny because I had just changed. But they had announced that I was player of the year. JJ got conference player of the year, and we had just accolades pouring out from there of like first team, second team, and all these freshman team, and it was just great. It was just a lot of fun because I honestly wasn't expecting or really looking for those type of accolades postseason. But when you have a good year, they're gonna come along. It was just really fun to see not only my reaction but my teammates' reactions for me because they know the history, the story, the injury. So it was really nice to, it was a really wholesome moment.
How was it? Was it emotional? Was it, was it kind of exciting? And then I would
Yeah.
imagine when you told the family, that had to be exciting and
Yeah, that
emotional.
was what was emotional. They wanted, there's a video of it. They wanted me to call my parents. And I called my mom and she was crying. I was like in tears. You could hear it. My voice is starting to crack because it takes a village. And that wasn't just my accolade. That goes for all the years that they put in and all the heartaches that I've gone through that they've also felt. So it's like not just my moment, but it's a moment for them to say, wow, like I'm so, I'm proud of you either way, but this means a lot for our family and not just, for me, because they've all been, ride or die supporters for me in any situation that I've been in, which included a lot of heartbreak or a lot of just really tough situations.
So you're coming off the best year of your career to date. I want to say today because you're not done.
Yeah.
Which is the exciting part if you're fan. What
hmm
did you work on this offseason? And how did it feel to work this offseason coming off a year where you were on the field the whole year and produced and healthy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my postseason from the year before I got here was different just because I had surgery. I wasn't allowed to do anything. But nothing changed. It was really just I'm not going to slack off. I'm not going to do more or less. Yes, I want to do more, of course, but I'm not going to do less for sure. But just staying the course, I know my work ethic is just way up there. So I'm not gonna change that. It's not gonna go away just because, I have an accolade. That means quite literally nothing to me in my performance. I could like as much as that was a wholesome moment, like I don't need that to do more, do less. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's nothing changed my off season. I actually interned for the Chattanooga Summer Ball League, the ACL Collegiate League, and that was really fun. So I got to interact with all those players and continue to like get reps and everything, and just continue to work.
Worked you did. Let's talk about your journey because it's a fascinating journey to getting to Charlotte. Let's first start growing up. What got you into softball?
Um, my family, I have three other siblings. I'm the third. And my older two siblings, we were kind of an athletic family. Older sister played soccer at D2 school. Older brother was a pitcher. Um, I obviously tried a bunch of little sports when I was little, but I wanted softball. My dad actually tried to get me to quit to go play another sport when I was little. He wanted me to like play other sports and do other things, and I was like, no, I want to play softball. And so, yeah, that was kind of the case. And then I just stuck with it ever since. And that was ultimately my older siblings got me into got me into sports because that was just kind of like cascaded down like you were gonna do sports. But softball really stuck after I tried that.
Man, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah, he wanted me to play lacrosse,
I
which
know.
pretty cool sport, but lacrosse was huge where I grew up. So
Oh.
he was like, well, why don't you go try this? And I was like, no.
No, I think it worked out for you
Yeah.
at the end. Did you have a favorite player, favorite athlete?
Yes, I grew up moving with my dad's job. We moved around quite a bit state to state. And so I spent 11 years. I was born in North Carolina, didn't play softball there, but spent 11 years in Georgia, played softball, travel ball, and then moved to Tampa, Florida, and I was there from 11 to 16. And when I lived in Tampa, I was a huge Florida Gator fan. Went to all the camps. My favorite player was Aubrey Monroe because I was a catcher. Funny enough, I started out catching when I was 8, and that was pretty much all I did until I was around 15, 14, 15. And so I was a huge Aubrey Monroe fan. I still love her and really appreciate, her as a person and a role model. She's huge in her faith, and that's something that I look at as well as just everything she's done after softball. And I remember my freshman year, I posted something and she liked it, and I was like immediately in like starstruck. And I was like 19 years old, but it just, huge role model for me, always has been, and just someone that I look up to still now.
Pretty good choice, an Olympian there. Did you get to meet her?
Yeah, I met her a few times just at camp, or doing, camp stuff or after a game, getting autographs, that sort of thing.
Did you like take a photo with her, or were you too gun shy? Okay, you did.
Oh no,
Okay, very good,
I'm not really a shy person, so
very good,
we have some photos.
fantastic. You obviously have a great softball career leading up to college, where you're a highly touted recruit. Tell us about how would you describe your journey, getting to college,
Mhm.
obviously, and all the stops that you had there. How would you describe it to those that maybe are not as familiar with it?
So, kind of the short end of the whole story, because that would take a very long time to explain everything. I was, I think, like a top 20 recruit coming out of high school in my class and had a really good recruiting experience out of high school. Went on multiple visits of Power Five schools that I really got to enjoy and love, and met a lot of coaches through it as well that I still keep in contact with. And I committed to Alabama. I was living in Birmingham at the time, so I was kind of like, an Alabama kid. And it was about an hour from home. Went there and just kind of decided after my freshman year that it wasn't what I wanted exactly in my next 3 years, 3 and 4 years. But it was just something that was a tough decision for me because there are a lot of great things that I did learn and like a lot of people that I did meet and all of that. But I decided that that's not the experience that I wanted for my 4 years. And so I decided to go into the portal after we finished our regional, and I committed to Ole Miss. I went down, played the summer league in Florida. It is so fun. Any softball player in college needs to go play in one of those leagues. They're the best. I had the most fun. And so played in that, committed to Ole Miss, and then just I was kind of just not myself all year. And maybe that was some immaturity on my part of being 19, but just didn't know how to get myself out of that funk that I was in. And I think it really obviously transitioned into like my play. I wasn't myself. I wasn't good. Just really frustrated with myself and some other things that were going on and off the field. And ultimately, I decided that softball wasn't in the cards anymore. I didn't want to play anymore, so I quit. I quit about March or April of my sophomore year, and just kind of decided that I was ready to hang up the cleats. Um, Thankfully, I had a lot of people convince me not to. I took a few months off, and I took about a month or so off, and in May, the portal opened back up, and I'd been talking to a lot of people, and they were like, I just don't think that you're fully done yet. Like there's something in you that I see that isn't, you're not ready to give this up yet, and I know it. I know you've had not great experiences maybe, but there's something in you that isn't ready to be done. And I kind of thought about it. I went to watch some of my friends play, and I was like, man, they're right. Like, I really miss this. And so I decided to put my name back in the portal. Was really embarrassed about it, to be honest. 3 schools in 3 years. It was something that I was not proud of. I didn't want anyone to know. I just wanted to be kind of under the radar, and wherever I ended up, hopefully that was a better opportunity. And I connected with Coach Snyder, who was at Texas Tech at the time, who I had a previous relationship with growing up because I would go out to all the FSU camps when he was there. And just really liked him, loved his staff. And Morgan Claveman, who was there, who's now at Ole Miss, she was someone that she was a player at the time, and I loved watching her play. And so to find out that like I would be coached under her and get the opportunity was really fun. And Texas Tech just felt like a real family. For the first time, I had fun at practice and things like that. But we decided to redshirt that year. Part of it was the NCAA. I couldn't play for the fall at all because of the double transfer. And then when that got lifted, we made the decision that it would still be more beneficial to me to stay another year, kind of learn, take this year to learn, grow as a player and as a person, and then play there for another 2 years later. So that's what we did, and I learned so much under him. I learned so much through hitting and just playing the game and things like that from not playing. And then once the season ended, I have had back issues for since my freshman year of college. They're bulging disc, the usual softball player kind of back injury, but it always got worse, and it would be nerve pain running through my legs, my glutes. I would be numb and things like that. So that's a different type of pain when it comes to that. And just after a lot of years, I would get these like regular regularly scheduled back injections so that I could continue to feel good and things like that. And in order to get more, I had to get approved by a back surgeon to say, hey, yep, keep doing these. And so Texas Tech sent me, um, well, I had a telephone call or a telehealth appointment with the neurosurgeon for the Texas Rangers, who that university used. And he took one look and he said, man, like it's time to get surgery. And I was never told that that was on the table at all. And I, as a 21-year-old, did not want to have back surgery. Um, but he said it would improve my quality of life and life outside of softball. And once I heard that, like when softball ended, of like being a mother and things like that, I knew that that was the right decision. I wish I would have found that out in January, but that's not exactly how it works. So basically I had surgery 2 weeks later, in the end of May and started rehabbing. I think second week of June hits, and just kind of all of a sudden, without a warning, our head coach decides to take another opportunity to coach with his wife. And that kind of left the program not in a great spot. New coach came in, Coach Glasgow, and just from the conversations that I had with him and what was going on in the program at the time, I didn't feel like it was my home anymore. And which was really sad just because I loved Lubbock, I loved Tech, and so it was just unfortunate, and I didn't want to go back in the portal again because I thought it was embarrassing and that 4 schools in 4 years and all of that. But so I go back in the portal and I'm also 2 weeks post-op of back surgery. I'm like, nobody is going to want to contact me. That's a really big surgery, and excuse me. Um, I got a phone call from Coach Courtney. She had just taken the Charlotte job not long after, I think a few weeks after, and I just talked to her and I had a previous connection with Clemson. Clemson was one school that I loved coming out of high school that I was recruited by. And there was a previous relationship there. We always kept in touch. And so that's just kind of how it worked. I knew Courtney and I knew Coach Jake. And so from that moment on, I decided to kind of take a leap of faith with 6 kids and three freshmen coming in and only having 9. And I think I was the 10th or 11th, but it was a risk that was quite literally one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And just so glad that it all worked out for me in that sense.
I'd say it's worked out for everybody on that. First of all, thank you for sharing that story. I think it's an amazing story. And it's how, I mean, when you, certainly you had, I mean, you mentioned it. Did you feel that you had burnout from the sport? Like at what point, was that what kind of caused you to stop?
Yeah, I think every athlete at some point goes through a phase of burnout. For me, it was more of just not that I'm sick and tired of softball. It was I hated softball. I just had found no joy in it. Everything in my life was kind of revolved around softball, and a lot of it, I will admit, was immaturity because I placed my identity and everything in the sport. So when that wasn't going well, nothing else was. And that's something that I had to unlearn, but majority of athletes go through that as well. Um, was just like it was more of an identity thing, and I needed to step away because I was in such a terrible headspace, and it was just necessary for me to just quit altogether.
How did you find the love again?
I well, when I committed to Texas Tech, it was just like the people that I was around. I was having so much fun outside of softball with my teammates, with my coaches. And it was like, man, like this really doesn't have to feel like a job and it doesn't have to feel this way. We can go and do like team activities and have just a lot of fun instead of like Coach Snyder would say, like, hey, instead we're doing an Easter egg hunt today, or like we're doing this today. And it would just be like really fun stuff, or like a Halloween practice, where you didn't have to like basically work work to death every day of the week and use every bit of that 20 hours or go over those 20 hours, but it was more of let's get quality work in, let's do what we need to do, let's have fun while we do it, and that's how I'm going to get the most out of my team. That's how I'm going to get them to trust me as well. So that was something that I really respected out of him, was because again, it was like that two-way relationship. We really cared about the staff and the program because they took initiative to really care about us.
Describe meeting Coach Breault and connecting with her, which obviously was a turning point for
Yeah.
both of you in a lot of ways, and now playing for her.
Yeah, the first time I met her, she was an assistant coach, so it was a little bit different. I didn't spend as much time with her on my visit to Clemson in high school, but getting to know her, it's really funny. She's just hilarious, and she's so nonchalant and she's so laid back, and it's just something that I'm not used to as a head coach. Kind of used to a head coach being like, um, talking a lot, just like, and she's just very laid back. So that was really fun, and just getting to like understand how she operates. And she's like me, pretty laid back, pretty chill. Um, but we both kind of played the game the same way. We both um found a lot of value in like our same morals and things like that. So it was just kind of like really talking to her. I had my brother on my visit actually because my dad couldn't go. I have a brother that's 2 years older than me. So we both went, and he would just said the same thing. He was like, I really like her. Like she's just chill. Like that's someone that you need, I think. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. So, um, but yeah, meeting her was just a lot of fun.
When you play today, when you practice, does it feel
Mhm.
different? Do you take a moment and do you appreciate it more with everything you've gone through? You know what I mean? Does it feel different?
Oh yeah, it is something that I never take for granted anymore. Not only because it's my last year, but like everything that I've been through to finally understand what a good situation really feels like, a good fit, I should say more of a good fit, what that feels like for me. Um, it makes you just have such a fire lit under you for wanting to do things the right way, wanting to give it your all, wanting to go take extra reps, wanting to just do anything you can to be there for the team and like be successful for your team and just compete as a team because of how much like respect you have for one another and how we don't take things for granted on in our program because there's a lot of people that have transferred in that have come from not great situations. And maybe some people that were one of the returning six didn't have great situations in the past with like their coaches. And so and maybe freshmen like come in and they have some adversity. And so it's like everyone has gone through, it's not sunshine and rainbows here, just like it is anywhere else. But it's so nice to see like everyone comes from a common place where they have a lot more compassion, empathy for people because it's not just black and white. It's not just you have that much more appreciation for being in a good situation because you also have not been in one. So,
What advice would you give young players there that maybe in the future will enter the portal? Because I think your story is a great example of how the portal really is supposed to work from the standpoint of finding a home, right? Finding
yeah.
a happiness there. You're not, there wasn't no other motives. You just wanted to find a home, and you found it here at Charlotte,
Mhm.
uh, a mid-major program there. What advice would you give young girls that might be in a similar situation in the future years?
Yeah, I think one thing that I had to learn getting older was that just because so basically like when I transferred my first or let's say second time, I was like, man, like how are people like I had such a not great experience personally. How do these people like have such a good experience there? And it's the answer that I had to learn was not every program is meant for everyone. Um and what I say to that is there's going to be people on every single team that aren't happy or it's not a great fit for them and it doesn't mean anything bad like they were a bad teammate or anything. Maybe they wanted more playing time, maybe they wanted to be closer to home. Like there's a lot of aspects that go into the right fit. So I would just say like what I had to learn was maybe this was a great fit for all these girls on the team and that's great and that's their valid experience and they're valid in that. I didn't have a great experience and I'm valid in that. So just because it was great for them doesn't mean it has to be great for you. Just because this is a great situation for me doesn't mean it's a perfect situation or a great situation for somebody else on the team, on our team, which both are valid. Both experiences are valid. Not one is right. Just because these group of girls had a great experience doesn't mean that this person was a bad teammate or things like that because they want to leave. There's so many things that go into being a good fit. And also too, like It's just like these are my 4 or 5 years to play. And thankfully, now we're getting opportunities to continue to play professionally after college. But for a lot of girls, like this is it. And so if I'm not happy, I'm not going to waste my last 4 years of doing something that I should love, not loving it or being miserable in something. And so I think that's my advice is it's not a bad thing to enter the portal if it's not a great fit for you. Also, I want to say something that I've learned is like the grass isn't necessarily always greener wherever you go, but it's greener where you water it, and it's greener wherever, you know, you put in the effort, and it's a two-way street. Like coach waters the grass and so do you. That's going to be your perfect fit. And a lot of times kids are saying like, well, it must be greener wherever I go. Not necessarily. I thought the same thing when I transferred and then I had a not great experience. And part of that was self-sabotaging on my part because I thought it would just be automatically better and I didn't put any effort in for it to be better, you know? And so that goes with growing up and maturing and knowing what a good fit is in general before you commit somewhere. I know after I left Alabama, I was like, I want to stay in the SEC. I think I earned that right. I'm going to stay in the SEC and I'm not looking elsewhere. Well, that was not a great mindset at all, you know, and it led me to not looking at some other great options and being really closed-minded and me obviously not having a great experience where I could have if I just was more open-minded. So that goes with maturing and getting older and learning more things about yourself. But I guess my advice would be it's not a bad thing to go in the portal if you want to be any better experience for you to be happy and to love the sport again. You don't owe anyone else that explanation. You need to do what you have to do in that sense.
And be
Also,
open-minded too, right? Yeah, like you
yeah,
said.
and be open-minded to every school that reaches out to you because it's not just I want to stay in the SEC. I earned that right. Well, that wasn't a good experience for me. And I jumped into one that it wasn't another good experience for me. But if I was open-minded and looked at a mid-major or anything like that, I would have said, man, like, this coach really does care about their players. And I'm going to be way happier here. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
It's a great point, and don't be locked into, well, I have to go here, or I have to go to this conference or this program. I had Allison Benning on this show, who
Mhm.
came from Oregon to North Florida, and she's like, you know what, I like it here. Why, I just want to be here. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming it's the same as you when you saw Charlotte, you would coach Breault. Like, I want to be here in Charlotte. I don't care, like
Yeah.
what I think that's
Yeah.
something that some young ladies don't sometimes think about. It's like doesn't matter where. Just be open minded because you might find something you weren't expecting that's going to make you happier than any other place would have.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like not only do young girls not understand it, but a lot of parents don't understand that.
Sure.
And, for me, kind of lost my train of thought. Just give me a second. Um, wow, I can't believe I just flat out lost that. But I think where I was going was in the sense of a lot of girls don't understand what's good right in front of them. And sometimes, oh, what I was going with that here is that a lot of parents don't understand it either. Like after I had a great year last year, so many people think I thought I was going to leave to go look for another, like go back to a bigger school
Right.
or go back and look for the next best thing. And it was like, no, that was never once a thought because I'm happy. And that was all that mattered. Maybe my freshman or sophomore year, I was maybe a little bit more mature. Maybe I would have thought that way. But once you're in a good place and you can really appreciate a good place with good people, that's all that matters. And I'm just around good people. Why would I want to leave that just to go to a bigger name school, like a Power 4 school that now that I'm older and more mature, like doesn't make any sense to me. And it's not just girls that think that way, it's parents as well. They want their kid to go to the biggest school for the name purpose. Well, your kid's not happy there. So, just be more open-minded. And I can say that because I was that way. Like, just be more open-minded and find the best fit for you. It could be a JUCO to a D3 to a D2. It doesn't matter what school it is. If you're happy, then softball's going to be fun. And you're going to do better and put better product out on the field because you're happy and you're supported. It doesn't matter what level it's at or what school it is.
No, well said. You've clearly have had a lot of self reflection.
Hmm.
When did that start? Because not a lot of people would have that self reflect, kind of
Yeah.
look in the mirror moment and
Oh
look
yeah.
at how did that come about? When did you kind of start reflecting on yourself there from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think when you're at your lowest of lows, and for me, that was after my sophomore year when I quit playing softball and I started getting back into it. And I just said, I kind of had to get a kick in the butt a little bit and take a look at the mirror. And my dad flat out said to me, he goes, I think you need to look in the mirror on this one. And I was like, what? I was like, you said it yourself. It wasn't a great sit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, I thought you were supporting me.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, no, I am. I love you. I'll do, you have free will to do whatever you please, but you need to take a look in the mirror and think, why have I had two not good experiences where other kids are having good experiences too? Like, and I just kind of was like, man, yeah, you're kind of right. Maybe I need to do some self-reflection and figure out what I can do better at my next school to kind of take things into my own hands, and my happiness is mine. And it's easier said than done, but I'm not going to let somebody else go ruin that. And so that was something that I had to realize because I was letting people ruin that. I was letting coaches or I was letting teammates or outside factors affect everything. And when I took kind of my life into my hands and stopped playing, I guess you would say like the victim card of, well, that was a bad experience. That's what I'm going to chalk it up to. Yeah, maybe it was, but I can learn a lot from it of what not to do for myself the next time going around. Um, and so I kind of just had to take a look in the mirror and said, man, like, if I don't want another experience like that, it's up to me. Like I gotta water this grass a little bit more and push myself to be a better version of me and see what happens. And that's, but it took me being at my lowest to
Sure.
really understand that.
And good parenting there. Sounds like you got a good parents too that was watching out for you there.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You kind of teased pro ball. Is that something you want to do?
It's something that I'm looking into if that opportunity does arise. My whole life that's never really been an option or something that I looked into. Never thought that I could. But if the opportunity is there, I would love to continue to, play and love to extend my career.
What's your post non softball goals or plans?
So after this year, I will plan on getting a master's and try to become a graduate assistant somewhere, working on that. But I love, I graduated in psychology, and I want to go the counseling route. And so looking into mental health counseling for sports psych, that's what I'm trying to pursue, just trying to figure out all the little nitpicky details that goes along with it.
It's pretty good.
Mhm.
Psyche, I like that. That's a ton of I like there. I want
Yeah.
to ask you, Coach Breault, when we interviewed her off air, she showed me the new facilities that's built there, and she told me you got to ask Jenna about it. So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to follow her orders. Uh, Describe it from a student athlete perspective. The new facilities there that's now finished and built at Charlotte.
Yeah, no, they are insane. I've never been at any school that has nicer facilities. And I've been at, like we talked about SEC and a Big 12 school, those facilities don't compare. And that's not a knock on them. It's more of a, we've got really good resources here, and we've got people that have donated so much money and such great boosters that have donated so much money to make this possible for us, that want to see us succeed and all those things, and just want us to have a really cool locker room and like really cool spaces to make memories. Our last locker room, we didn't have a team room or really a training room, and or the coaches' offices weren't really in the building. And so now we have all of that housed in one building. We get to mess with our coaches every day. We get to like go hang out in the team room, eat our lunch. We have a really big, spacious, nice locker room that we can just like mess around and do goofy stuff, and we didn't really have that before. Our last locker room wasn't big enough to do that. So it's just nice because when I leave, those are the memories that I'm gonna remember most. I'm gonna remember like all the stupid stuff we did in the locker room, all the stupid stuff that we did in the team room, all the pranks that we pulled on the coaches, and all that sort of stuff versus wins, losses, like key moments in a game. So it was so nice. It's so nice that we get to have those resources and have people donate so much money so that we can just really make memories in there.
Yeah, which is got to be nice for this players, right? Because that wasn't the case a year ago. A year ago, what you were sharing a lot of stuff with baseball, as I understand it.
There's a big or a big building right next to the field, and it houses, it's all separate, of course, but it's baseball, women's soccer, men's soccer, and softball. Huge, it's a big building. But the inside, like we had like a snack bar like next to the bathroom. It was kind of a small, really small. It was probably not even half the size of our locker room now. Um, and so now we have a mud room, so we don't have to bring like any of that into the locker room, and everything's just more neat and tidy and just a lot bigger, and we can like literally run around it if we want to, and we couldn't do that before, and it's just a testament to like all of our amazing donors. So it was we shared a lot, but it was all still separate. And then now we have our own training room that we can go into. We have our own like place to finish, like eat lunch, own coaches' offices that they don't share with anybody else. Like all of that stuff is ours.
That's incredible. Congrats. That's awesome for
Yeah.
the for you and the players in the program as a whole. Couple last things before I let you go. You've been so kind. When when you talk about when people bring you up, like 5, 10 years from now, you're gonna have an alumni day.
Hmm.
What do you want people to say about you?
Ooh, more than anything, I want my teammates and coaches to remember someone that they could just depend on. For me, something that I try to like live by every day is I don't clock in being a good teammate and then clock out. Like as soon as I don't hit the doors, I become a good teammate and then I leave and I can do whatever I want. Like I want to be a teammate that my teammates can call me at 10 o'clock at night and say, hey, I need some advice, like with stuff not even related to softball or stuff that is related to softball. I think the nice thing about my experience is that I've kind of gone through a lot of it. And if someone comes to us, someone's like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, my injury is really taking a toll on me mentally, or um, this is really hard, or just I'm going through a slump, I'm thinking about leaving, or just things like that, or hey, I'm transferring in and this transition's really tough. I mean, I have experience in all of those fields. So, especially for our young kids too, like I know how tough that transition is. Um, I know how tough a transfer transition is. So I want to be a good teammate, and that's something that our standard is for everyone. But for me, I want to be someone that is just dependable. Like all those conversations that are not related to softball, or maybe they are, I want to be that person that they could say, hey, like she really helped me through that, or she really, you know, she was really kind in doing all of this, or things like that. That's what I want to be remembered for more than, man, she was just a good ball player. Well, there's a million of those. There's a million good ball players that go through this program. But I want to be like a loyal, dependable, just realistic person that they can, depend on at whatever time of the day.
That is Jenna Lord, Charlotte 49er, 2025 American Conference Player of the Year, first team all conference. That sounds a good resume title there, right? That sounds pretty good. Uh, Listen, thank you so much for taking the time and telling your story. I think it's a fascinating story. It's a fun story. And I think it's a story a lot of young people are going to be able to learn from. Good luck this year. Enjoy it. I know you will. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us here on In the Circle.
Okay, thank you guys so much.